back. Zero Access Footy, episode number 5. And it's been a pretty good week. We've had a pretty good week, fair to say, with the dress-ups that we've decided to come in with. But we are here, episode number 5. We thank you once again for tuning in to another episode here with us. And we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, we're going to go through round 2 and go through specific games that we enjoyed in particular. We've also found out during the week that apparently Bem is a psychic.
Yep.
And he just understands the footy more than anyone else, except for a few things here and there, but they're not important. And
No, but they don't exist.
we don't care about it for the most part, as long as Essendon are losing.
They can be wiped from history for a week.
But we've got a lot to talk about in regards to our own teams. We've got a few more viewer call-ins, which is going to be really exciting. A few topics that have shown
really
up.
good viewer
and
call-ins.
of course, the reoccurring segment, Bemi's Tribunal task that we all get excited for, which isn't as massive this week, but we were treated
massive.
Shut up. I get that so much on my own stuff. It actually annoys me. It really annoys
Your
me.
audience is a bunch of 12-year-olds.
Shut up. Yes, but shut up.
Yeah.
And then we're going to kickstart 8 things that I have learned. I'm going to school is basically what I'm doing.
Yes, we know you have the brain capacity of a 12-year-old, which is why your audiences are full of 12-year-olds.
Yeah, well, I open packs for my online content creation, and so I need to make sure that my mental maturity is at the same point. 8 things I've learned. That is going to be a segment that comes up very, very soon.
Yes.
Towards the start
definitely not a
podcast.
rip-off. Definitely not a rip-off.
Not at all. Come on,
Not at
man.
all.
But
How-
of course,
how dare
if you guys enjoy what you see here today, are listening to, be sure to leave a like on the podcast you're listening to and subscribe to us as well. It's all been very fantastic. We just hit 50 subscribers, which is more than
Yay!
Did you get to 50?
Yes, I did. I'm on 51.
Zero Access Footy's got 52 at the time of recording this, so
Do they?
we are bigger than the Premiership quarter.
I'm not as surprised.
Well done, Bem. You're reaching uncharted territories.
Let's go, baby.
But yes, of course, be sure to subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify, rate us 5 stars.
Yes,
It's always very
please.
much appreciated.
We've had lots of people talk about wanting Spotify, so if you're listening on Spotify, you better rate us.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't skimp out on us, man.
Rate Race out of 10, please.
Rate me out of 10. And please don't rate me low. I'm very fragile. All right.
Yeah, you old man.
Round number 2. Let's have a look at how round 2 went. What a fantastic week of footy. I actually wanted this after the round 2 reactions, but I wanted to show this off because look at that. North Melbourne are in the top 8 for what feels like the first time in years. I know that there was
When
that
it feels
year.
like it is the first time in years.
No, we went 2-0 to start off a season,
yeah,
and then we lost like 20 in a row. So there was that season. So technically we're like top of the ladder, top 4 for a little bit.
I think you were top 4, yeah.
Yeah, but this feels more legitimate. I think a lot more people see North Melbourne legitimately than they did then because they were 2 wins, one against the West Coast side that was god awful at the time,
And then one lucky win
and then
against
one
Fremantle.
game against Freo that we just
Harry
managed-
Sheezel was the goated player.
Oh my god, that game was. I mean, good memories, but the entire season gives me just nightmares. That
Yeah.
entire season because
That's fair enough,
I
too.
sat there thinking, oh my god, finally we're showing signs of life. It's going to be a good season, and then lose 20 in a row. That was awesome, and then messed ourselves up top pick in the draft by winning the game against Gold Coast at the end of the year.
Somehow.
How North Melbourne?
Yeah,
How
pretty
North
much.
Melbourne? But
Pretty much.
I wanted to put this up here because I'm jealous, and even St Kilda get a little mention here with their nice little win.
Also, love how our percentages are almost opposite. Like 222, 226,
Yeah, well,
170, 179.
We lost to the Dogs by 17 and then beat Melbourne by 59, so we got a pretty good,
Percentage,
outlier. And then
yeah.
you got smacked by Adelaide. And
Okay, let's move on.
And then
Let's move
as
on.
we move
No,
on to
let's
round
move on.
2 results, you'll see Bem is feeling very proud of himself this week. I'll let you run
Very
through
proud.
it. I'll let you run through it this
Okay,
week.
well, Thursday night, I had work, so I wasn't able to tune into most of the game. But Hawthorn started off pretty slow. Looked like Carlton were really switched on. Were able to get out to a 20-point lead early through the second, I believe. And was it not for some dubious calls, as was pretty much a theme throughout the night, throughout the round, sorry, they could have very easily won, because I'm not sure if you know this, but Hawthorn had 19 players on the field.
Yeah, I saw that.
Should have been a free kick to Carlton in their forward 50 because that's where the ball was, similar to the North Sydney one. Sorry, I had to bring it up. And then Hawthorn go down the other end and kick a goal. So 2-goal swing makes it a 1-goal game, and Carlton very easily could have won it from that position. Unfortunately, they didn't, and Hawthorn ended up winning. But I think the biggest thing for me was the difference in kicking skill, because we saw how good Hawthorn were, where every time they attacked, they just found the right player with some fantastic kicking. And they've got about 8 top 30 kicks in the game, you could argue. Compare that to Carlton. Nick Newman's their best kicker. He's not in. And Sam Doherty's a pretty good kicker, but he's been injured and hasn't been able to find consistency in the last few years. Sam Walsh has not been out at the form we would have expected from a number 1 overall pick. And Charlie Curnow, probably their best field kick at the moment, is out as well.
Did he end up playing?
He did.
He did.
Barely.
Yeah.
He got absolutely shut on by Josh Battle, which I'm not happy about. But yeah, like the main thing that I saw was that A, Carlton still couldn't kick straight. B, their small forwards still weren't very dangerous. And C, they couldn't kick. So that's what I took away from that game.
I think, and the problem for Carlton right now is it very clearly has shown that I don't think they prepared for the season well enough. I really don't. And maybe it's hard to say from an outsider perspective because every preseason for every player will always be difficult, right? Because that's just the intensity you got to work with. But we saw how they played against Richmond. That was not AFL level skill. That should not have happened. And in any normal circumstances, if that same game happened mid-year, I think it would have been how we expected it. But something was up with Carlton's skill level and just poor display of football that first round. And I think this game, while it was a better showing, partially due to the fact that Curnow's back, so they've got another option there.
Yeah.
The teams don't have to only account for Harry Mackay. Yeah, I think they were able to show a bit of improvement with the ball, but still not enough to get themselves to where they really should be seeing themselves, which is, I mean, minimum top 8, right? All those years of being bad. And what, they've had 1 finals appearance to 2 finals appearances. And they've lost in the prelim. So that's their only good season, but they also lost to Brisbane in that elimination.
Got battered by Brisbane in that elimination final.
Yeah. Well, who was it it was a tale of 2 stories for both their finals matchups where Brisbane won, right? Because Carlton in the prelim got off to a ridiculously good start, and then Brisbane came back.
Yeah.
And then Brisbane got off to a good start, but they were able to hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So similar stories for their finals, but you really think 1 prelim hopefully isn't the peak of this team's window.
Not with the talent they have.
With what they've got, they should not be at 1 prelim.
Yeah.
I think that year so far has been the only year where you think, man, if they had won that prelim, if they had held on to that lead.
Imagine a Carlton-Collingwood grand final.
That'd be disgusting.
I would not want to be a fan trying to get
That is the grand final where you hope that a meteor hits the field and the entire stadium is destroyed because it is the worst outcome you could possibly imagine.
But also we just had the 100th anniversary game for Footscray, not Bulldogs, for Footscray. As they lose to the Pies by 6 in a very good game. I was there. I was watching it live.
Ooh,
and I must say,
fun.
It was a pretty good spectacle. I think especially what they did early before the game with like having the flags, all the players, I think that was really good stuff. But in terms of the actual game, they really pushed Collingwood. And I know Collingwood didn't look great, especially in the first little part. They just couldn't get anything going. But Footscray rallied really hard. And Collingwood got out to like a 20-ish point lead, and they came back, and they got the lead in the end, I think, or they was tied at some point really late, and then Sidebottom kicked the winner for Collingwood. But honestly, with the amount of talent they're missing at the moment, they've been performing really well. Able to beat North Melbourne and now push Collingwood all the way. It's a really good performance from them, I must say.
I think your mentioning last week of how Collingwood were going to have the edge was dead on, even though it was the 100th year celebration. But yeah, credit to Footscray in the sense that they seem to have this mentality of next man up that's really doing well for them, right? And if it wasn't for the fact that Luke Beveridge has been on edge for so long, I reckon he'd get a lot of credit for this performance.
Definitely.
Because he's seeming to find players in good positions, right? Sam Darcy is probably the most obvious one at the moment, and we'll talk about him a lot more later. He, alongside the likes of Fraser, I really liked Fraser, had a few massive moments. He was the one who kicked the goal to tie it up. I think it was 69 all, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, there's the 12-year-old. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
But
Oh, God.
I think Footscray the last 2 weeks, even though they have lost to a really, really formidable Pies side, it's signs of life that we didn't expect to see from Footscray.
Yeah.
My biggest fear for him is that this is kind of just eating into the idea of that they are still a middle-of-the-road team, right? I put him at 9 because I said to myself at the start of the season in the ladder predictions, these guys are the definition of 50-50, something along those lines. And my fear is this is a great sign for young blokes within the side, right, who are doing really, really well given the opportunity. But when they lose that opportunity, because people will have to go once Bont comes back, I mean, I don't know about Jamara. We'll find out eventually. But others like Waitman will probably get a go back in again. And plenty of others, right? They've got so many injuries. I'm wondering whether their positives right now will be outshined by the negatives if they keep playing the way that they have played in the past, where they'll play down to certain competition, but yet play up to their.
I suppose it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a mentality thing where they do that, but lots of teams do that as well, and it's just sort of like a thing where you overrate your talent against against the bad teams, and then your talent gets absolutely outshone by the good teams. So for the Bulldogs, we know they've got the high end talent, but we also know that there's a huge gap between their best and their worst. And so that's a bit of their problem. But I think now that they're 1-1, I don't know who they play this weekend, but
they play Carlton.
Okay, that'll be a very good game. But we'll talk about that later. It'll be interesting to see how they go until they get everyone back, for sure.
Absolutely.
But Bombers, Crows, oh my God.
Adelaide, crazy performance from them.
Their forward line's looking really, really well oiled at the moment.
Super dangerous, man. That's a really scary forward line. I don't know how much of the blame we can put on the Bombers. I mean, you mentioned last week Jordan Ridley being out is a big worry for him. And this kind of shows them why. Carl Langford. Look, I'd be more worried about Carl Langford if it wasn't for the fact they hadn't put 100 on the board.
Yeah, I suppose
they put up the triple figures. So, look, they did. It's not like they lacked firepower. It's just their defense was not able to keep up. And I don't think many will be able to keep up with Adelaide this year, especially in the forward line.
No, definitely
especially
not.
In the forward line. They've looked so dangerous.
Their system's working well to the point where their forwards don't need to do too much defensive work, right? They are conceding, but they're able to get free ball movement all the way up to their forward 50, and they always have someone out, right? Their small forward line now of Keys, Rankin, Rochelle, and pretty much Peatling, who's sort of playing in that spot, who comes up to the stoppage mainly, and then your three tools of Walker, Fogarty, and Thilthorpe. It's working really well. I said at the start of the year, I don't see any of them all kicking like at 50 plus individually. I said they could all kick 40 plus. That's looking pretty good because at the moment, they're all just kicking like 2 goals a game and then one will burst out and kick 4. But they can rotate it.
Yeah.
Because not every team is going to have someone to go to each 3 of them. And I'm sure we're talking about Essendon later because they're pretty big talking point at the moment, given how poor they have been defensively.
The start of the season, yeah.
I just think that it's not looking good. And there's some comments that Brad Scott made that we can talk about that are very intriguing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to move to the next one? There's not too much to say about this one.
No.
We were really excited for it, though.
Well, according to tipsters on ESPN, Tigers had a better chance than the Saints at winning.
Yeah, I know how proud you've been of that one ever since it happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it was expected for me. I didn't think you could win simply based off of effort like they did against Carlton.
I was going to say, we both said Port, but I said 15 points.
I'm pretty sure I said more. I think I said maybe mid-40s.
Yeah.
So even that was pretty excessive. It was more as well at one stage. Tigers did well to get it back to an almost reasonable margin.
And can I very just quickly point out that the Tigers have a very clear, and it's good that they found it early, but their clear problem is they get out to poor starts.
Yeah.
They need to work out how to start the game off well because they fight like hell in the second half, both times.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously against Carlton, it turned into a win. But against Port, right, this could have gotten really ugly. And although 72 doesn't look good on paper,
Could have been 120.
they found some really, really good sparks of life. Jacob Blight is one that I saw because I managed to watch a fair bit of this game. Jacob Blight was really, really good. Especially when they moved him down forward. He became a really, really good target. And there's another bloke who ate it up in the fourth quarter. He did so well. I can't remember his name.
I got no idea. But
I'll quickly look for it. But yeah, Richmond, they've got good things. Harry Armstrong.
Yeah.
Harry Armstrong, 2
New
goals,
kid.
2 behinds.
New kid on the block.
Smashed it in that fourth quarter. Did really, really well. Just
Good on
kept
him.
getting his hands on it.
Good on him.
There's signs of life.
He was a big faller in the draft. So good for him to perform and show that he's still at that level.
Absolutely.
Saints Cats we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
Lions Eagles. When I checked the scores at quarter time, I was like,
No shot.
excuse me? What? Hello? And my mate messaged me and he's like, have you checked the scores? Have you checked? I'm at work. I can't check the scores. And then I did when I was on a little break and I'm like, holy shit. But obviously Lions did the premiership thing and came back and won it. But it was a much better performance from West Coast from what we saw in round 1.
Yeah.
Much better performance. And this is what we need to see every single week. I think when we talk a little bit about Harley Reid later, because that's going to be on the agenda, then we'll talk about it a bit more about what their leaders did. But we saw, especially from Tim Kelly, how important him being back is to their midfield. Because Liam Baker was really good. Jack Graham had a good game. And we saw some of their small forwards, they now have a bit of freedom. Like, they looked really good. Tyrell
Dewar. Tyrell Dewar is what he's listed here.
Are you sure?
Tyrell Dewar.
Okay, Tyrell Dewar. I thought it was Tyler.
I
but
thought
anyway.
so too.
I found that very interesting.
Shows up your West Coast. Oh, we'll just search it up here.
Yep. Tyler
Here we go. You get the live look at what's he got in his bookmarks. What's he got in his
Tyrell
bookmarks?
Dewar. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Tyrell.
There we are. Okay.
Oh,
Good,
well, get
good
back
things.
to here. Get back
Yep.
to... You forgot
Completely
in that
expected.
moment. You're like,
Completely.
oh, no. All right. Go back there.
Completely
Yeah, that's
expected.
all good. Find out how to get that back to full screen. But,
Yes.
in the meantime...
No one knew how to say his name either. No one. Not a single media person. It was like Dewa. No one knew how to say Dewar.
Yeah.
It was pissing me off. That's the thing. But again,
Brisbane side, Zorko, fantastic game. Dunkley played really well,
Mm-hmm.
I think, all game. He was not up there in terms of stats, but was impactful to start and getting them back on track. Lockie Neal with a classic Brownlow
got to tag
type
Lachie Neale.
performance.
Got to tag
and
him.
Jared Berry, really, really nice to see
Yeah.
from him. And then your usuals, Lester and Harris Andrews seem to be the big defenders who did the best. Ashcroft was all right. Will Ashcroft was all right.
Got it.
And yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
We don't need to go through every single
We'll
player.
go past North D's
that's gonna be a
because
bit.
we'll talk about that too. Dockers defeating defeated by the Swans.
Yeah, you hate this. You hate the deaf by.
I hate the deaf by. I keep getting messed up by it, but
Yeah.
we'll live with it. Dockers defeated by
Interesting
Swans.
game.
This game.
Interesting game.
I'll tell you what. At the end of the game, it felt like neither side won. If that makes sense.
I mean, okay, first quarter, 4 goals to 0. But it was like 0 goals 5 for Sydney. And then Fremantle kicked 5 goals for the rest of the game. And thankfully Sydney won because that's who I tipped. I don't know if you tipped Sydney or Fremantle. I can't remember.
I said Freo because it was at Optus.
Yeah. There were some very poor levels of football in this game. There were some plays where teams just could not do anything. And Pat Voss, if you don't look at the scoreboard, he had a good game. But he kicked 1 goal 3. And probably should have won it. He also had the turnover late that resulted in I don't know if it was the Riley Bice or if it was the row bottom kick to McCartan. Sorry, not McCartan. Amadi.
Yeah.
He showed some promising signs, but again, just the final product for him wasn't there. Shea Bolton as well had moments, but wasn't able to have the finishing.
To win it.
Yeah, didn't have the finishing product in the end. Still things to like for Fremantle, but Sydney, this is the win they needed.
Absolutely.
100% needed this.
Bad
Starting
start
0-3
if
would
it's
have been really
0-3.
poor.
They've just squeaked out with 1 and 2. So while obviously a win is a win is a win,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would take it with a grain of salt. Same goes with this loss for the Dockers. I'd put more emphasis into their loss against Geelong because what does that mean?
Yeah, well, listen,
Look, it's too early to make grand decisions.
They needed to win this game.
Both
That's the
teams
problem.
needed to.
Sydney more so than Fremantle.
Absolutely, because
However,
Sydney came in 0-2, Freo are now 0-2. So they do have chance for redemption.
I still think Fremantle are going to struggle this year. I think I had them 9th. But they just don't have Hayden Young, and he was so important to them last year. I know you cannot rely on one player to be so important for you, but he is, because he provides some really class end product.
In games like this, yes, they do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charlie Curnow, for example, against the Tigers.
Yeah. Would have helped for sure. But we'll now move on to the 2 games that are going to be awesome to talk about.
Oh, boys.
And we're starting in order.
I know if there's anyone who comes here regularly, this is what they've been waiting for. To see us just go absolutely ridiculous on some absolute glazing type beat. Like, it's going to be unbearable for some.
Yeah.
Amazing for us. I can't wait.
So I remember you saying, I can't remember who it was for. It might have been Eagles, who say they need to start well. I can't remember which team you were talking about.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, it was Richmond. It was Richmond. You said it for Richmond.
Yes, just then. Yeah.
It's the same thing that I have with St Kilda. We start well, we will perform well. Mm-hmm. And we started like a house on fire
37 to 10 first quarter. That is better. I saw it, and your head, the words that you uttered just rang through my head. I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. What is happening?
I've never seen our small forward group work so well together like it did in that first half against Geelong. We had never been so free with our ball movement and having players so connected going inside 50 in about 5 years. Since 2020 Brett Ratton, we have never been this good. And like 2020 Brett Ratton, the only goals we would kick were goals in the goal square. And that was all we would do. But it just looks so good. And Rowan Marshall being back to his best, huge. Jack McRae, arguably top 5 midfielder so far this year.
Potentially up there for recruit of the year.
Yeah,
that's a recruit of the year
At the moment, it's been fantastic. And then in the second half, we kept with them in the third quarter. They really pushed us. They were the better team, but scoreboard-wise, I think they only outscored us by 2 points.
I was going to say, where they really damaged you was towards like the edge of the game, right? Where things really started to get pressured.
And I always knew they were going to come back. Yeah. Always. We never beat Geelong in this handedly. So I was always expecting it to get close. I wasn't expecting it to necessarily get that close. But in the end, the fact that we won, oh my God. And the fact that I'm saying this when I predicted us to win as well is crazy.
That's probably what you're most proud of, isn't it? 100%. And in saying so, we did have a deal.
Yes.
We did have a deal.
Yes.
In the deal, I mean, you put up $5 and I shook your hand just purely because of the joke, saying that I needed the Mikey money. This is my Mikey. I walked here today. From my house, 40 minutes drive, so that was a whole walk. That is a true and legitimate story.
You left last night.
Yeah. I walked here. I have the $5 because I couldn't take the train here, so here you go, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you dropped it. That could have been a clean transaction, and you've gone and ruined it. What are you gonna get, mate?
This is going straight to the casino.
Sportsbet's got a $5 bet incoming for Saints beating
Not Sportsbet. It's going all on black.
Oh, God, and it's going to happen all night, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's going all on black until you're a millionaire.
Oh, yeah. Oh. But back to the game. Some of our younger players looked really good. Lance Collard, Maxi Hall. I don't know how that just clicked, but anyway. They looked really good. Collard kicked his first 2 goals of his career. Isaac Keeler kicked his first goal on a beautiful set shot. He started cramping like in the early parts of the third quarter. I first thought he tore his hamstring. But he didn't, thankfully.
Thank God.
And he was cramping all the way through. Kicked a fantastic set shot in the third quarter.
Yep.
And he looked pretty good. Certainly got bodied, but it's his first game. And I think one of the biggest talking points for me was Anthony Caminiti down back. It's where he trained all preseason. And look what happens where you train is where you play. Chances are you're going to be better. He had 13 marks, 14 intercepts, had a fantastic game, was able to play really well on Shannon Neal. I think he kicked 2 in the end, but one was from a really poor decision from the umpire, and the other was from outside 50. So I think he now looks to be the set defender for our future, and I'm really excited because whilst Geelong did come back, we held our own. Liam O'Connell's mark towards the end of the game, fantastic courage. 2 plays coming at him, and he still took the mark.
Massive.
And also Zach Jones's performance, I thought he was fantastic as well.
After the spray you gave him in last week's podcast.
Oh, yeah,
He must have heard. He must have heard.
Yeah.
Because he smashed that. He smashed it that game.
It's very similar to last year. He got death threats after his game against Adelaide.
Oh,
and then came out and performed really well the last few weeks. I didn't go that far in the last week's episode.
I really hope that isn't like a permanent trend for his sake. That's awful. Imagine every week he plays poorly, he's like, I'm just going to have to start reading. I'm going to have to start reading and see how this goes. Oh, my God. For Zach's sake, please find a new way of playing well, because that cannot be healthy.
No, okay.
That cannot be a healthy way.
Yeah.
Oh, but fantastic for your sake. 1-1, as you said.
1-1.
And the dream of 2-3 that you'd also mentioned is still on.
Hey, we beat Richmond. We're 2-3.
Because the 2 Adelaide games, right? They're 2
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
2-3, baby.
That's the saddest thing I've ever
And
heard.
you know what's going to be horrible too? We're going to lose to Richmond and beat Port Adelaide. That's probably what's going to happen. That's probably what's going to happen.
I'm going to have to clip this too. I'm going to have to clip this too. I'm not putting money on this one. I'm not doing it again. But here we are. Now my turn to get excited, because wow. I did not expect that after the game against the Dogs.
I mean, I didn't expect it that bad, but I expected the result at least.
Neither at all. I had no confidence, right? Because I thought, with the fact that the Dogs had so many outs, right, that game would have defined how we came into this one. Melbourne at mostly full strength. They didn't have Stephen May, and he obviously would have been a beautiful back piece for them to have. They could have put him on Darling or Larkey or someone in there. Yeah, most likely Larkey. And then obviously he does the floating role really well, where he can play between the back line and stop those easy finds. But Jake Lever was in there. At the very least, they did have some players who could do their thing. But the only one who really came out was Cade Chandler and Clayton Oliver, to be fair. Clayton Oliver had a very good game.
He looked like he was covering the ground a lot better than what he was even last round. Yeah. So he is a promising sign for Melbourne.
So I will say for them, it's good that Clary's playing at that level again, and Cade Chandler looks like a nice bit of excitement coming into a hopeful better seasons to come. But this, I guess, in Melbourne's case, marks 0 for 2. We're going to talk a bit more about Melbourne in this one, alongside Essendon, as you mentioned before. But let me gloat. Let me have my moment. This is North Melbourne's first, get on the camera that I'm pointing at right now, their first 50-point win since 2020. It has been so long. We barely get to experience wins in the first place. This shouldn't have been a 50-point win. And here I am, the happiest I've been in years. This could be the happiest year in the last decade for me. I'm being dead serious. So far, it has been a fantastic start to the year.
I don't know what's sadder. You saying a 1-1 start to the year is the greatest thing ever, or Melbourne fans having to suffer again?
But the problem is, I wouldn't even say it's a problem, but the good thing is this is more of a win that gives us confidence.
Yeah, 100%.
The 2-0 start where we beat West Coast and Fremantle, there were so many question marks. This felt definitive to the point where people have us having a legitimately good shot this year. And I can see why. The team seems so much more from everything they had said. This wasn't just thank God we finally won. This was them going, this feels like we're set up for a fantastic season, or at least some positives. Yeah. Right? So although, yes, we're 1-1 and we've got some tough matchups, right? The schedule is on our side. We've got a bit of an easier schedule compared to most teams. Tristan Sherry was recognised way more than I thought he would be for his performance. This was a heavyweight matchup between the two, and Sherry came out on top. Yeah. Right? So potentially like a grudge for not getting the spot last year.
I'll talk about grudges. Rowan Marshall.
Yeah, Rowan Marshall.
29 touches from a ruckman.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They look like the two best ruckmen this year, 100%. Which is great to have our little battle there. But Sherry wins 10 coaches' votes. Tom Powell, oh my God, I cannot believe how well his preseason has translated to the games this year. Right? This is so good to see, because obviously North midfield was the best thing about them in previous years, despite how poor the years had been. But to find a gem, like a hidden gem in Tom Powell is amazing. Comben, I love that he's getting all the hype that he's getting right now. I think he absolutely deserves it. He's such the word I always go to is rough nut. He's a tough bloke because he will throw himself at any single situation and look to get himself on the positive. And it worked out in his favour this week. I was critical of him last week for his game against the Dogs because I think he wasn't as strong as he was this week. He looked a bit skew-if is the best word I can come to right now. But again, Sam Darcy, we'll talk about him later. Charlie Comben did his job, and I'm really surprised that we held them to 66 points.
Yeah. Well,
I'm so shocked that our defense has done as well.
It is Melbourne.
It is Melbourne.
It is Melbourne.
That's for getting rid of Ben Brown. Although they did win a premiership
with him in there.
Yeah. I don't care.
Okay. Well,
I'm just
round analysis.
So happy.
Done.
Oh,
I think this is going to be the only time our teams win together.
Yeah, exactly. I think I mentioned it to you as well. Yeah. This is the only time I reckon. Collingwood, producer Ethan, he's happy.
We know he's always happy.
It's the only time that we're going to walk into this studio as winners. So, happy. I feel great. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Let's move on. Yes. We've got an exciting segment now. The reoccurring one, for your sake, I'll say it out loud. Thanks, Basil.
Yes.
Thanks, Basil. We've got a couple in this week, and we've got a reoccurring guest.
Reoccurring guest.
We've got our reoccurring guest
awesome?
here. It's Jay Epstein's back. Yeah, we thought he was gone. No, he's back.
No, he just got an updated photo.
And an updated description. I don't think it was mentioned to it who or how we know him.
No, we're definitely not using our connections to get these thanks Bazils. This is a call out to you guys, okay? We don't want family on here. We want you guys. We've got one, okay? I know that you cannot send voice messages in via Instagram if you are not following the account and then following you back. We are trying to find ways around it, but just leave comments. Leave comments saying your hot predictions, and what we'll do is after our 3 actual thanks Basil voice messages, we've got one. We've got one.
Really?
We've got one.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So if you want to do it, just leave comments, and we'll put them in for next week's video. But it's time to play Jay Epstein's Thanks Basil Point 2.
Oh, I love him so much.
Thanks, Basil. Well, a week is a long time in footy. Saints came out this week and decided to play football. Showed everybody what they could do when they actually turned around and put in some effort. Good to see our midfield step it up. Good to see our forward line seem to have some structure, and our defence was unbelievable. Young guys like Isaac Keeler, Lance Collard had great games. Jack McRae in the centre was also awesome. But the thing that gives me the shits is players like Patrick Dangerfield get the rub of the green every time they go near the ball. Even if they tackle somebody without the ball, have the ball, get tackled, and spun around, get tackled again, they don't get done for any free kicks against them. Even when they go to the tribunal, they get a fine. Everybody else would go to the tribunal for the same sort of thing and get done 1 or 2 weeks at a time. Well, that's my rant for the week. Go Saints, bring on the Tigers. Back to you, Bem and Rupert.
So, is this... Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Jeremy. Is this the reoccurring thing with him where he keeps messing my name up? Because last week I thought it was just a genuine mess up. Rupert? What?
That's good.
I didn't clock it last week, but then again...
Now back to you guys. If you guys are going to do it, say thanks Bem and not Reese, because it's not Reese anymore.
Oh my God.
It's Rupert.
If we somehow find ways to make it worse than Rupert...
What's going to be next to Ralph?
Don't give him ideas, man.
John
he can
Ralph.
come up with them himself. Oh, my God. I love that, though, because he sounded like Brett Kirk. You know, in the clip where he goes down to him. When he started, it sounded like him, so I was ready for him to... That felt like the genuine clip.
That was really good. That was really good.
Oh
that
my
was
God,
awesome.
That was amazing. But we've got more, and I'm so excited for this one.
Do we want to talk about that or nah? We've already talked about it a little bit.
I think it's a beautiful change up. We actually are going to be talking in the next segment about free kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the one that stood out the most, which was the Collingwood Footscray game.
Yeah.
But I just love the passion he has for his
100%.
Saints.
It's
I
awesome.
love the passion. We love the passion on Zero Access Footy.
Well, talking about pattern,
We weren't talking about that, mate.
passion.
There you go.
Passion there. This bloke, he is the most passionate Northy hater.
And you can tell with the photos we've chosen, right? This man means business. This man does not. I can't. It's the one in the background. Oh, I love this segment so much, man.
I'm so glad I thought of this. I'm so glad I thought of this.
Oh my God, the
This is
Doe
the-
Show. Here
This
he
is
is.
the content.
This is it. All right.
Let's play it.
No yapping. I want to hear.
Yes, thanks, Basil. I was just on my Instagram reels, minding my own business, and a Zero Access Footy reel come up, and I was having a look, and it was, Northy reacting to or telling us his most overrated players. And I saw him put LDU there. He's just a salty North supporter. That he won't be there next year. He had 39 and 2 goals, mate. He will be up for Brownlow contention
Is he stupid?
within the next 2 years. You are a fraud of a fan, AFL fan, not even a North Melbourne fan, AFL fan. I've got a tramp to catch. See you later.
What? Has he gotten Rosé and LDU confused and mixed up?
Yes. He has. I think what he was trying to say.
Connor Rosé, right?
I think he was trying to say you had LDU as a North fan, salty North fan, and then that is not going to be there next year, and then just completely forgot because of all the brain damage he has that he forgot to mention Connor Rosé.
Yeah,
just completely forgot to mention
he
him.
Didn't matter. I thought, you and I both looked at each other, right? We're like, did he just say LDU got 39 on the weekend?
He did not.
No, he absolutely didn't. And he said he's salted I'm going to be there. In the clip that he's mentioning, I say I'd love to have him there,
Yeah.
but I'd be okay if he left.
Yeah.
This guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. There's no other way to put it.
I mean, to be
North
fair,
is number one hater, but like nothing
photo-
behind the eyes.
That photo looks like there's very little between them.
There's a reason he's got the glasses on.
Yeah.
It's because his eyes are cross-eyed. He's got nothing behind his eyes. There's nothing there. Oh my God.
Wow.
What a flog.
This has been awesome.
What a flog.
We got 2 more.
I love Jeremy Moore, and he messed my name up. I love him more than the Doe Show.
You love him? You love who?
Jay Epstein.
Jeremy. Oh, okay. I thought you said Jeremy Moore, as in like a player Jeremy Moore.
No.
Okay.
Jeremy Epstein.
Yes,
I love him
yes.
more than the Doe Show.
Yes. Well, obviously, but we've got a third one. Liam G.
Liam G.
A new addition today.
Oh my God.
Absolutely fantastic.
He seems excited.
Yeah, so you know where this photo is from?
Where's that photo?
So I
from?
believe this is with Marmalade. And you know the Bev show, how he does the doggies, bark,
yeah.
bark.
Is
He
that
went on
him
to the
doing
and that's
that?
him doing that.
Oh my God.
So
Oh, that's good.
I think we're ready to play it. Our third
Do we have an
one.
audio?
We should have audio.
Do we have audio? Please produce.
Thanks, Basil. Now, I've got a hot take that I want to present, and it's around what I believe is one of the most underrated young superstars in the competition.
Superstars.
I'm talking about Joel Frazier from the Western Bulldogs, who has had
we
a
did
very
talk
strong start to the year, and I believe that he's making a very compelling case to be the rising star for 2025. He was starting to build on some solid form for the Doggies towards the later part of last season, which I thought he was very unlucky not to get a Rising Star nomination in that period. But I think people are also forgetting that he was drafted at pick 45 in the 2023 draft. He's only at 19 years of age. He took out the Doggies' best first-year player in 2024, won their 2K time trial in the off-season. So I'm looking forward to seeing when he gets that nomination, which I know he will, because this is a genuine star in the making. And so if everything goes all right for Joel this season, there is no reason why he can't be considered for the Rising Star.
That was a well put together. That was a really, really well put together case.
Yeah.
That is not what we want on Zero Access Footy. We want rants. We want him to get angry. No, it's all right. Look, I think that was a really, really good point.
Smart and well measured.
Yeah.
That's the way I put it.
Smart and well measured is a fantastic way of
Yeah.
putting it. I like the funnies though. I really want the funny ones.
The funnies
Liam,
are
thank
nice
you very much for
content.
that. That was fantastic, and I think he raises a really good. How many games did he play though last year? Right, because
Under
if you
10,
Played, if he played
100%.
under
I'm
10,
pretty sure
then
it's
yeah,
under
he's up
10.
for it this season, and he showed some great signs. He's
Yeah.
getting his opportunity, which I think
Yes.
is why this take is really good in my opinion, because Now we're seeing it, right? If he had said this with if he hadn't had his opportunity, right? If he hadn't broken into the team with all the outs, I would have said, that's fair, but I don't know if he's going to get the chance to show that talent off.
Yeah, I mean,
because they've got their best players are the midfield, right? Bont would get all the recognition. Treloar would get it. He'd have to have a fantastic game, right, to get the recognition with the blokes that are on that team. But that being said, his moments against Collingwood were fantastic. The big goal, that's going to play in my mind for a bit because he had, and I think about the run, right? A young 19-year-old, as he mentioned, running towards a goal down, 5 minutes left in the game. You could not blame him for passing that ball off.
100%.
Right? I'd imagine a lot going through your mind, but he stepped up, slotted it, right? Big moments like that are the ones that stick with me and show that I think he's cut for the AFL, which is great.
Thankfully, he didn't pass it because an option could have been Aaron Norton. And my tip for not the most overrated player also looked really good on the weekend. So he just showed courage. He's taken every opportunity this year by the scruff of the neck. Yeah. And to be honest, he's playing a mix of roles as well. And it's hard to necessarily find a spot unless you're an already established player if you're not defined. But he's absolutely flying right now, and it's a very good call. I think look out for him against Carlton because players seem to do well against Carlton. So this week, look out for him.
I think,
sure.
and I agree with the Rising Star nomination prediction this year.
Yep.
I think he will get one.
Yep. Okay.
Beautiful. That was a fantastic Thanks Basil segment.
Yes.
We got a bit of everything there.
Well, Rhys.
Oh, we've got another. Hell yeah, this is sick. All right. We want you, Chancey, to join the podcast, right? This is because it was a YouTube comment. And he has mentioned here, sorry, I think I've moved a bit out of the way. I'm trying to read this. G'day, Bevan Northie. Is this on a live stream or will we just comment on videos? If so, a hot take I have is Bailey Smith winning Geelong BNF in his first season. He had a cracker first game and is showing good signs, even though Freo was shocking. Anyways, that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So,
is this Geelong guy? Is this
Anti? No, it isn't.
No. Okay.
No. He is genetically footy. I know that one for a fact. Anti has been around for quite some time.
It's one of yours.
Yes, he is. I've seen Anti on my channel.
Yep.
I think that's why he goes by Northie rather than my name. But that's all right. I'm cool with either. I think this is very reaction based, right? Really, really quick, really early hot take.
Yep.
One of those ones where you see, like, imagine a Marty kick 6 goals and everyone said he's going to win the Coleman this year, right? You'd be like, let's hold back a little bit.
Yes.
Bailey Smith had a ripper first game. That can't be denied. But there's obviously some players here and there that could take it. I think them losing this week will have a lot of people saying that Bailey Smith is their best player.
Yeah, most important potentially even.
But there's obviously some players in there that could take it. If Cameron has himself a good season, right? He had himself a not so great game. I actually wouldn't even say that. I think it's just because he got put on the wing, he didn't kick as many goals.
Well, also Wilkie towed him up.
That too. You mentioned that. You predicted that. But Bailey Smith winning Geelong BNF, I am doubtful to start, but could happen.
It's a long season, and I think we're forgetting that.
Yeah.
They'll probably rest him in and out of games as well. But there's also a chance that Max Holmes, fantastic player, Sam de Koning, looks to be pretty good in the ruck this season. Tom Stewart always, Jeremy Cameron. And they've just got players all around that get votes. But time to move on officially.
Yes.
Officially.
Thank you again, though, to everyone who... I'll do
much.
it very quickly. Thank you again, everybody, for sending in comments, audio clips, all of that. Really, really good to see all of that. And, 4 of them, that's fantastic. We'd love to do that more and more often.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, wherever you can. Voice notes are obviously the most appreciated, and we'll try and find a workaround for the Instagram problem we're having. I think you mentioned we're going to try and set up an email for it, so we'll hopefully put something in the comments or the description, whatever it may be, if something comes up, or we'll mention it in next week's podcast. But again, thank you guys who did give us something for doing so. We hope to see more of you in the future as we grow and keep this thing rolling. But again, thank you guys very, very much for those entries. But let's move on to our next topic, which is free kicks.
Yes.
Right. I don't know if
pretty
you've got
poor
anything.
round.
It was a bad one for free kicks. And
Obviously, the highlight is going
umpiring.
to be the Bulldogs-Collingwood game. Watching it, you could tell early that I think it was 7-1 to the Bulldogs at one stage. So it was 7-32 from what I remember after that. Bulldogs deserved all but one from what I remember. Collingwood could have had a couple more, but for the most part, it wasn't too bad early. But obviously, when that happens, the Collingwood fans get up and about. And they're the loudest group of fans in the competition. And it 100% has an effect on the umpires.
Absolutely.
You cannot say that it doesn't when we saw the change in that. Because every time there was a tackle, any time there was a touch on a Collingwood player, whatever it was a free kick to Collingwood.
There's only one really egregious one that I remember that was in the pocket that led to a shot on goal or a centre or a kick to the square. But there was one that I remember specifically that had many people scratching their head. But I can't remember it exactly, but it was in the pocket in Collingwood's forward line. If you can find it, have a look at it. That was the only one that I saw that I went, oh, that's not going to help the umpires here.
There were also some that just weren't paid. So you had the one where Nick Daicos was along the boundary. He basically just walked the ball out. The player who was next to him didn't apply actual pressure, and it wasn't paid deliberate, where it was very clearly deliberate because he did not disguise it well at all. There are also times where we're going to talk about how good Darcy was, but his dominance in the air could have been more simply because the amount of times he got chopped in the arms, the amount of times he was affected in the air. I remember quite a few times where they could have been a free kick, but it simply wasn't paid. And you could tell that the players were going to the umpires asking about it as well.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even just the Bulldogs game. There were other games as well. Mm-hmm. The Hawthorn one that I mentioned with the free kicks. It's free kick Hawthorn again now. It's 10 years later. It's time. For the umpires, it's time at least. And obviously where they had an extra number. How does the fifth umpire, who's on the bench, not see that? All you need to do is look at how many players are on the bench. And then you know.
And that frustrates me more especially when you mentioned the North Sydney one.
Yeah.
That just clicked in my brain immediately, right? That was so much less obvious.
Completely egregious as well.
Than Hawthorn's one, and nothing for it is quite insane, to be honest.
Your one didn't impact the game at all. Yours was just an interchange fault. Theirs was that they had 19 on the field. It's very clearly a free kick.
Yeah.
Very clearly. So,
the problem is this is not something that can be
topic.
fixed.
No.
It's not a fixed problem, right?
Yeah.
This is something that's just going to be, what awful umpiring this round.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we can really do about it, right? We can mention it, we can bring it up, but how do you change it? Is there a way you can implement rules better? I'd never think that
overly.
And the problem is you cannot punish the umpires, right? As much as people want to punish the umpires, if the AFL comes out and bats against you, all umpires are now like, whoa, I thought you had our back, right? Because they've gone through all that training, they know what they expect, right? And if they don't have at least someone backing them up, right, they can back each other up, absolutely. You've seen it in other sports. Baseball's probably the biggest one where umpires get the most amount of crap because they will get screamed at, right? And reputations of people will ruin them, right? And they're considered, like, they have to go through a lot of training. I don't know what it's like for AFL in that sense, but I'm just comparing it to that. They go through a lot to get to the professional level.
It's also a part-time job. It's not full-time.
Yep.
People have got to realize that. They need to do basically marathon-level training or half-level marathon training to be able to run games, as well as having another job to be able to get paid. So it's not their entire lives like it is for AFL footballers.
Yeah. I think that's where we'll finish that off, though. We've got that. It's a tough one to really find a topic or find an answer to, but it's just unfortunately a really poor round.
Yeah.
Let's go, though. We've got 8 things that I have learnt. I knew it was coming. And the picture just oh my God.
So good.
Oh my God. So this is an old, this is an old thumbnail that I used for my own personal members podcast. So that's why this.
Oh, is this for the members podcast?
This is for my members podcast. So that's why not many people know this photo exists. I don't know why I went with that pose. And there's a lot of questionable things about this. Maybe I was just in a good mood. Who knows? But 8 things that I've learned. We talked about it last week that we were going to try and launch it this week. And here we are. We got together and it is listed as 8 things I learned, but it's kind of a week where we discuss what we both have learned and we try to make something out of it.
Yep.
Right, so if we look here, we've mentioned here, we've gone kind of one for each game throughout round 2. One thing we've learned, and we came together, and there could be some hot takes right here and there. Some people may disagree with what we're saying, but it's things that we believe we can come to terms with after the week that's just come. So we'll start off Blues versus Hawks. We've got listed here, Voss isn't the man for the job. I use this as my bold prediction, but now I think it's coming more to light. More people are seeing it as it is.
It's being shined upon more now.
Yeah, because there's a problem. There's clearly a problem at Carlton, right? They may come to terms with it, or they may improve off of their poor start, but something's wrong right now. And I think it could be up in the coach's box.
It also feels like it's almost come to the end of your tenure. Like a lot of coaches get 3 years, and then in their 4th there is a sacking. So his first year was 2022. They almost made finals. 2023 they made a prelim, which showed in your second year that you can get a good bit out of this group.
Yeah.
And then last year we saw that they were top 2 in round 17 with 2 games in hand. They were that bad in the last few weeks that they fell out of the 8 almost completely. So we've seen in every year they've played, there have been ups and downs. Because even in 2023, they were poor to start the year.
Yeah.
They just got a great end to the year and a really impressive run to be able to make 5th, I think, in the end. Problem is, nothing's changed, right? The best coaches, they're able to change, whether it change the system, change a couple players, or something else. Nothing has changed with Voss. The game plan is still the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, the changes that he has made have been puzzling.
Yeah.
They've just been confusing.
They've gone from 2 rucks to Mackay as the backup ruck to not having anyone else to then having Cripps as the backup ruck. So that's very confusing there. They've gone to having, they had Wiedering, McGovern, and Brody Kemp as their 3 main tools, to now having Wiedering, also Plowman and Marchbank there at times, to now having Wiedering, McGovern, and Nick Haynes with Jack Silvani there, who's not a key defender. It's just playing around with things that don't necessarily need to be played around, and it just causes even more confusion to the players. Because look at Sam Walsh, a player who was fantastic in 2021, but hasn't shown the same level since. And that's been with Vossi. So it's pretty clear. Some players you can get the best out of, but there are others that are seeming to struggle in this system.
And I think they're the most important ones.
Yeah, I said in my predictions, the reason why I have Carlton finishing 5th is because I think Sam Walsh goes back to that 2021 form. Well, hasn't shown that so far this year.
Yep. Dogs versus Pies. Darcy is better than the rest.
Yeah.
By far. I mean, Jamara has kind of just not been the best. And this one is in reference to their forwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because obviously Bontempelli is Bontempelli. You could make the argument Treloar would be better. Tim English on his best day is more valuable to the team.
And is it relative to the Dogs forwards or all forwards?
Just the Dogs forwards.
Okay.
I think there are definitely some better. I mean, we've had a very short sample size, right? There's obviously Cinderella runs that can come up, and I don't think that's this for Darcy. But I'm not confident enough right now to say that he is the best forward in the comp. But geez, these first 2 games, I said it when he plays against North, right? When it went to him, just chalk it off. It's a mark to Sam Darcy. It's happening anytime the ball is going his way, and it happened again. It happened again.
Darcy Moore couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah,
it's insane that that's the case. And then you think of Aaron Norton, which you have your opinions on for sure. And I think it's fairly obvious to see. I mean, you got a very, very easy showing of like why we think Darcy is better than Norton.
Yeah.
That Collingwood game showed you why. I guess the good thing for Norton is that he didn't give up. He kept pushing pretty hard throughout the entire game, looking for his opportunities. But then in front of goal,
no end product.
You can't trust him.
Yeah.
Right? He can kick some good ones, but man, he is not trustworthy in front of goal.
And from what I was watching, he just looked like he was walking out there. Whether that's match fitness, he's not fully fit, or if it's just he wasn't trying hard enough. Darcy was everywhere.
I could never tell an AFL player that they don't try hard enough. I think they can play poorly.
It's not that he wasn't trying hard enough. He just was jogging everywhere. Like, he wasn't running to the ball.
Yeah.
When it was...
Could be a match fitness thing.
When he was sort of like hanging around the 50 zone and they were trying to kick the ball inside 50, he wasn't presenting as an option. And that was what I was looking at.
Yeah. All right. Bombers versus Crows. The main one we've got here is they have the best forward line. Or do they have the best forward line?
They have the best functioning forward line at the moment.
Agreed.
And
who do you think on paper has the best forward line then? Because I'd even argue that Adelaide have the best forward on paper now. At their best, 3 gun small forwards, and at their best now, 3 gun big forwards. Obviously, we won't get the best of Tex, I'd imagine, anymore. Riley Thilthorpe's only just looking to show some positives, and Darcy Fogarty looks like one. I think he's probably number one option now.
So far this season he has been.
Yes.
But it's a good question. I think Brisbane still with their smalls have a great forward line.
Yep.
You've got Sydney with Amadi, McDonald and McLean, and then their smalls as well. Mm-hmm. Great selection there. I wouldn't consider Hawthorns at all. I know they've got a good small forward line. I just don't trust their tools.
Yeah, you've got Chol, Gunston.
Lewis is still not available. Cal Shadir is not available yet.
Yeah. So good, but not the best.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question.
I think
Collingwoods I wouldn't trust fully.
I think Adelaide...
Gold Coast, maybe. I mean, I like it for separate reasons.
Ben King, Jed Walter...
Ben Ainsworth. Bailey Humphrey, Malcolm Roses.
I'd still say Adelaide.
Yeah.
I think Adelaide's number one.
Good point.
It's a really good one to get into, but I'll move on to Power versus Tigers. For both teams, this is reality.
Yeah.
We're back to reality. Port Adelaide did what they needed to do, right? They are supposed to be, and they're shooting for top 4. They should be a top 8. This is how a top 8 team plays against what we think is the reality for the Tigers, a bottom side. So great win, obviously, for them, but this is their reality this season. They're going to be fighting from behind most of the year.
Yeah.
This is what we should expect from them. I think last week was a bit of a fluke for both sides. Obviously, a big loss to Collingwood.
Yeah.
And then a back to reality win. So I think that's all we really need to go to for the Powers versus Tigers. Saints versus Cats. Retooling was the way forward for the Saints. You made this one. I remember this one because I don't know if I'm 100% on here, but I think it's showing signs.
I remember we had this discussion. It could have been in our first ever podcast where we talked about between Melbourne and St Kilda, retooling versus rebuilding. I said Melbourne needed to rebuild and then St Kilda needed to retool.
Yeah.
Rebuilding is what Richmond went through. Retooling is what probably Geelong's doing at the moment.
Yeah,
where they're focusing
instead
more
of going
on,
all the way to the bottom, they're finding new pieces to fit the spots that the players are going out for.
And St Kilda didn't trade everyone away. They slowly lost a couple of the older players, right? Seb Ross has come out, Josh Battle, Jade Gresham, Luke Dunstan, Jack Billings. All those sort of players have sort of started to slowly drop out of the team. And now we've started to bring in a lot of draft picks. And we saw Max Hall, really good player against Adelaide, had showed some signs against Geelong. Lance Collard, top 20 pick. No, it wasn't top 20 pick, top 30 pick. Isaac Keeler looked really promising. I think it was also a pick in the 30s. Marcus Windhager, pick in the 40s actually. He looked really good on the weekend, 25-2. Mitch Owens showed at every single contest. Anthony Caminiti, preseason pickup after he left Carlton. These sort of players are what we need to start finding because we still got a lot of talent. We still got Philippou, we still got King, we still got Sharman, Liam Henry. They're all still able to come back into the team. That is where the future lies. One more year of sort of outside the 8 finding a better pick and then potentially as a midfielder is sort of what we need rather than trading away Sinclair, Marshall, Steele, Wilkie. That is what gutting your list and rebuilding is. And I don't think that was the way forward. And it showed because we've still got a good system. And that beat Geelong.
You got some really good stuff out of Sinclair and Wilkie on the weekend for sure. Yeah. We'll move on to Lions versus Eagles. Kelly back to his best, and Brisbane are not invincible.
Yep. So Brisbane being down by 5 goals, a bit of a hangover. Also horrible conditions to play in. It was 30 degrees, 100% humidity at 12 o'clock in Brisbane. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like, seriously, that's horrible.
That is prison for some people.
Even an Essendon fan, I wouldn't wish that on. Okay.
But yeah, the good thing is that Kelly looked really good and has looked good the last couple of times.
And we'll talk about the stuff with Harley Reid, as I mentioned, a bit later as well.
But Brisbane not invincible. That game absolutely showed it because we both had the situation where mates are going, are you seeing this right now?
Yeah.
Like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
So there's things and there's holes that Brisbane have that they need to work on. And where did they mostly come from? Where did the holes come from? Were they just getting beat in the midfield? Were they?
I don't know. It was interesting. I didn't watch the game again. I was at work.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm going to watch again because their leaders, from what I saw at quarter time, were getting into each other. It was Zorko, Dunkley, and Andrews were the three that I saw. They were like full on arguing. So whether it was a disconnect between how they were playing and how they wanted to play, or it was just poor skill execution, I'll need to watch it again. So just watch it in general. But they came back, and that's what premiers do. That's what the best teams do.
Yep.
No matter how bad you can be in one quarter, you come back.
You come back and play to your standard, if not better. Yeah.
So it wasn't even a close game towards the end. They ended up winning by 3 goals.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to retool the way this one is said. Rhys versus Demons, I'm going to say Combin is a mini McGovern. Not as good, right? This one that you've written here says McGovern in disguise. Right, that would infer that he's as good as McGovern.
His third quarter was McGovern in disguise.
Oh
His first quarter was definitely not McGovern in disguise.
Was he though? Like that is facts. That is 100% facts.
8
I think
intercept marks.
Combin has shown signs of being that defender, and God, do North need defenders. They really do. And you've also got here afterwards last. I'm assuming you're talking about Melbourne. You think they're going to be last? It says here last.
Oh, no, say that one last.
Oh, say that one last. Whoops. Because we've got Dockers versus Swans. And this one, 100%, Tom McCartney's a defender. Mm-hmm. The forward line experiment has happened.
I said give it 4 weeks. They gave it 2.5. So,
and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Right. You saw how effective he is as a defender.
Even though
putting up
Tracy,
65.
Yeah, even though Tracy was fantastic in the first quarter and throughout the game, it just showed that they needed someone that big. I mean, obviously McLean coming back helped and Melican coming out helped. But yeah, they just needed it because I don't think playing McDonald back there...
I don't think he's effective in the forward line.
No, neither.
He's not effective
there was a play that I remember. I can't remember who was against.
He looks unsure.
When he was on the lead, he punched the ball. Like, instead of going out to grab it, he punched the ball. So it's just like, he just doesn't have the tools to be a forward. That's all.
An extra 9 thing I learned, Ben Gaddy must always be trusted.
Thanks. Thank you for not including the second thing.
He also doesn't know how to make good-looking thumbnails.
Hey, I gave the idea. I gave the idea for the little Rhys as the eye, okay?
That really did it, didn't it?
Awesome.
That really did it.
It looks awesome, okay?
Shut up. Let's go to our next topic, which is going to be Essendon and Melbourne, right? It said here that you're going to lead this one. Did you have any initial thoughts for how Essendon and Melbourne are combating this year?
Okay. Melbourne, unlucky first game to concede a goal that late against GWS to then lose it. Frustrating. Very, very frustrating. I think a lot of their players looked better. And then coming into this week against North Melbourne, it's a game that you want to go out and prove yourself. Hey, just because we lost on the weekend doesn't mean that our season is over. But unfortunately, it's looking like it might be because that is a demoralising loss. It's a demoralising loss. And we're going to talk about them a bit more in a bit.
I am certainly not demoralised. I feel great. I feel fantastic.
Why do you have to bring it back to North Melbourne?
Because they lost to North Melbourne.
Shut up. Okay.
Let me have my week.
We're talking, your one win of the entire year.
We're only going to be in the 8 for a week. I don't care.
But when talking about Max Gawn and Simon Goodwin after this, but for Essendon, this is mainly about Essendon.
Yeah, okay.
Where do they go? Because talking about St Kilda and rebuilding and Melbourne and rebuilding / retooling, it's almost to the point where they have to rebuild. Because...
Who are the players that they think are too good to let go of? Zach Merritt.
he almost left anyway.
Yep.
We saw him contemplating it. Ben Mackay, how much can you get back for him? Andy McGrath or Mason Redmond, what are the offers that could potentially come out for them? Sam Draper, what can you get for him?
How much of them are like? It feels like only maybe one is untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Merritt you want to keep, but is he too much of a Dyson Heppel? Because fantastic player, not saying anything else, but is he just going to stick fat with you all the time? Is he? Because he's a fantastic player. He had 36 touches and 4 goals on the weekend. Is he necessarily going to stick fat when you're going through another rebuild? Because you've got Caddy, you've got Kako, and you've got a couple others scattered around. Elijah Tardis looks okay for the year, but he just got injured. And Ben Hobbs is one you probably want to trade off.
He's had flashes, but he's definitely one where you want to get him to a point where he looks good enough for an AFL team to go, all right, we'll take him. We'll give you this for it, and it'd be worth it.
Yep. But Harry Jones hasn't really done much. Archie Perkins hasn't done much. Zach Reed's probably one you still want to keep because you can develop him.
Has Harry Jones naturally been a winger? He was playing wing.
He was naturally like a medium forward, but it's almost like the Mason Wood because he's got that height, he's got that athleticism where he can play as an aggressive winger. Basically.
It just reminds me of the Nick Cox move.
That's the other one from that draft.
And I didn't like it. I feel like he needed to be more of a like inside 50 position player.
I don't know. I think they were a bit nervous with him as a forward 50 player because he was just a bit out of touch a little bit. He wasn't a great kick at goal. He made some dumb mistakes here and there. But is that what a young player does, or is that just what an inexperienced player does?
So I think the reason a rebuild is so disaster ridden for Essendon is just because of the drought.
Yep.
I think the drought is really what's going to kick this into like danger territories, right? Because it's hard to mention Essendon without mentioning that 20-year drought. And it sounds like a silly thing to bring up in a sense of the year and their club's tradition, but you've got to admit it's going to affect some of them. It's going to affect fans, absolutely. And if Essendon rebuild, my God, they went through what the few years of hell that came from the drug scandal. Come back to a decent performance, but can never get
occasionally
over the
making
top.
Finals.
Yeah,
and then now they're just contemplating
all this
rebuild.
teasing as well of like players breaking out and doing amazing things with this club and finally bringing them to the point where they were in 2000, and it's just not happening.
Yeah. It's
a rebuild would I'd imagine it would kill them.
Their list has been absolutely horrible. Their recruiting has been deplorable over the last few years. Like some of the players they've brought in, you have to question it, right? But the problem is, you've got Tassie coming in 3 years, 4 years, right? How quickly do you want to go into that rebuild? Because if you stick fat another 1 or 2 years, you're pushing yourself right into Tasmania's timeline. So do it now, and potentially set yourself up to where you are almost in line with Richmond in terms of getting every single pick you want. And you trade out a couple players. Let's say you trade out a Sam Draper to Adelaide, right? They probably want him. You could probably get back a second and a third round pick. So therefore you have... Actually, no. They cannot rebuild this year.
Why not?
Guess who their pick's going to?
Oh, they did trade it, didn't they? Who'd they trade it to?
Melbourne. They can't rebuild, and they can't be good. They're screwed.
Yeah, it's very scary times for us.
We feel bad for you. No,
we don't. I tried so hard. Oh, come on, man. I was quick with that one too.
That was so good.
You saw my eyes. I'm like, I know what you're going to do.
Yeah, I know
what you're about to do.
I've been thinking every time I'm going to do it, you're going to like, no, I'm not going
to do it. But hooray for Essendon Payne. Yes. No, it's, we feel bad. Melbourne. We'll move on to them and talk about our next topic, right?
Simon
Goodwin, after the loss to North Melbourne, had some very, very interesting things to say, and not in the good way.
Nope.
Not in the way you'd hope to see him bound his teammate together, but more giving excuses at the expense of the main man in charge, Maxi Gawn.
So what he said is he was talking about Tristan Cherry, and the question was about Tristan Cherry and how good he was, and then he brought up Max Gawn. And what he said specifically is, in life, there are other things that are going on. We'll support Max. He's a great person. And there's a backstory to everyone's performance.
I think even we've got the full clip on it.
No, we don't.
We
Not
don't?
anymore.
That's all right.
Not anymore.
That's all good. No stress. But that quote does kind of give the whole situation
To
up.
me, it's insane. What is the coach
It was
doing?
never. It was my problem with it. It was Gawn had never shown signs of that.
Yeah.
It clearly seems to be an internal thing for him because Goodwin seems to know something. Clearly, Maxi has said something to him.
Yep.
And I'd imagine something personal like that was said in the idea that it wouldn't be said to others.
Yeah. I mean,
And so for him to bring it up, not say it directly, but now people
No.
are talking about what's
Yeah.
wrong with
Correct.
Max.
You've just
and
made it
that's-
worse.
And that's not helpful.
just say it was a down week. The problem that I have, right? Their entire off-season was about love and rekindling love, right? From what I saw, there were initial reports after this happened saying like Max Gawn wasn't very happy with it and that he didn't expect it to happen. He came out on Triple M saying a couple of things as well that we can go to now that I can clearly see what he was trying to do. He was trying to show me love, support and care. I don't mind. I spoke to that family member yesterday. I don't mind, so it's fine, right? Talking about love, there was no need to bring it up whatsoever. Because if it was enough to bring it up, then there's clearly something going on.
yeah.
And there's just no need. You're already in a bad position, right? It's just a coach saying something for no reason.
It feels like he's just trying to save himself as well.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like a reasoning behind how he got outplayed. It looks like
Yeah.
he's just trying to save himself from having to answer the question.
Yep.
It's a very, very strange thing to mention. And from what it looks like, because this is Max's quote, yes?
I believe so.
It looks like on the outside, he's okay with it. And for his sake and the club's sake, I hope that they've hashed it out
Yeah.
and that it didn't cause problems. But on the surface, right,
That's a shocking thing.
that's a really, really strange thing to mention.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even, it's the fact he's just kind of dropped it, like he's put it in the bucket
Yeah.
and just left it there for a bit.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be questioning that every single time Max Gawn has a bad game.
Yeah, it's
And not
like-
to say he played bad, right? He just got outplayed by a really, really like potential All-Australian ruckman.
Yeah.
Like, this feels so unnecessary, and I don't know
Completely.
why Simon Goodwin's done it.
So he said we'll support Max. He's a great person.
No one doubted that.
Why would you not support Max? Anyway.
It's a
I'm of
small
the-
little thing.
I'm of the opinion Simon Goodwin should not be in his role at all.
I think it's just also a very bad mistake.
Yeah.
I don't think this is him trying to put Max in the hole,
No,
like going
it's
after him.
just-
I think this is just a very bad
It's almost-
decision in the moment.
It's almost as if he's like not media trained in this sense.
For
I'm confused.
his sake, I hope this was just a genuine mistake.
Yeah,
And things will be fine. I really do.
definitely. Okay.
Let's move on though. You are going to talk a bit more about Jamari Ugle-Hagan.
Yes. So more news has come out saying that instead of attending the game, the 100th anniversary of Footscray on Friday night, he has gone to allegedly Bentley Pub or Brighton Pub. I can't remember.
What a legend!
Right. So first of all, going from the western suburbs to the southeastern suburbs, because I'm assuming he would live in the west, given they train in the west.
Yeah, something like that.
And then also, he had been going to NBL and NRL games instead of going to an AFL game. And apparently, again, allegedly, he feels anxiety whenever he was to go to a football game. That's something that I've heard.
Is he thinking
That
of a
he-
code switch? What the hell?
He has been so terrified of going to a game, allegedly, that he cannot bring himself to it.
Oh man, that is legitimately
It's
tough thing to
terrifying.
hear.
It's
That's a tough
terrifying.
thing to hear. And I'll tell you what, I was being at the North Dogs game. I can see why. I can see why. Some of the things that fans will say,
Yeah.
every fan base will say it.
He-
Right? And there were North fans who were saying
He
it.
went through some shit last year with it as well.
It's feral.
Yeah.
It's feral. And, right, I mean, people, if you browse any type of social media, you'll see jokes about
Mm-hmm.
it, right? I'd imagine Jamara, his first game back, wherever it may be,
Yeah.
he's gonna hear it. He's gonna hear it. And I do legitimately feel bad for it. Obviously, there's some decisions he made which are very poor.
Mm-hmm.
From a troubled young person,
Yes.
which you've got to kind of keep in mind. But, oh my God, a very, very tough situation.
Yeah.
That is, and it feels like, I'd imagine every move he makes is going to be under a microscope. So
Yep.
I don't blame him for being really scared of going to AFL games.
And on that too, there were things that he'd consistently be posting on social media about going to the NBL, about going to the NRL, yet he wouldn't post anything about going to the footy or supporting his mates or when he was at training. And people in his circle and people trying to help him, because everyone in the circle would be trying to help him, which is a good thing. They are now saying that he, A, needs to stop posting on social media, and B, fix himself, because they're saying that it's gotten beyond the point where they can help.
Yeah.
So it's a tough situation, but...
I was going to say, I think we mentioned in the last time we talked about this, we hope he's getting the help and support.
all the support to the player.
And I don't even know. I don't feel good putting all the blame on him.
No.
I don't feel confident putting all the blame on him because I don't think it's his fault.
No.
Or at least entirely his fault. I think the club could have wrapped their hands around him in a different way, or wrapped themselves around him in a way that was more caring. But then again, we don't know the inner workings.
We've got zero access.
We have zero access. What do you expect from us? We have zero access. That's why we're called zero access.
Speaking about zero access,
let's talk about like how
Harley Reid's leaving.
So we've got some inside scoops on Harley Reid.
As I said, Kilda fan, I know that he's coming to take Kilda.
Oh, but a bit of a crash out moment for Harley Reid.
Crash out Reid.
Crash out Reid. Look at him go. I think it's. And I hate to keep bringing it up. Yeah, I think it's funny. I think Andrew McQualter, that's his last name, right?
Yeah.
He had mentioned he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Which I think is a crazy way of going about it as a coach.
I got no problems with it, to be honest.
People go on about him being, how about the AFL soft and all of that. Like,
Kane Corns acting like this is the greatest thing of all time.
Yeah, I'm surprised to honestly, with the way that the AFL goes about it nowadays, I'm surprised they're so like okay with it.
I mean, they did issue an please explain, but like
it's pretty easy to explain.
Yeah, he was getting shit from the crowd and just went.
Yeah. How do you think that call went? Harley, can you please explain why you've done that? I don't like the fan. What do you want me to? What? The fan was getting on me nerves.
Hey, Harley, the AFL just called me, and as your manager, I think you need to make a public media statement.
I'd give the finger to the media.
Yeah.
Just on the stand.
Hey, Andrew and Laura, here you go.
Oh, man. But it is a bit of a nothing situation, just something to kind of point out, because, I mean...
It's Harley Reid.
How's Harley been playing so far this
Pretty
season?
shit.
Nothing
he gave away
crazy.
7 free kicks on the weekend.
It's probably the reason why. Like 15 possessions, nothing fantastic. 7 tackles, so at least he's showing aggression as shown. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a nothing. Just the start
literally.
that West Coast fans probably weren't hoping for, especially with all the talk of him potentially only being a rental for West Coast. But even then, we've talked about
abused.
Even then, we talk about how that could potentially be a good thing for West Coast. So. Look,
moving on.
It's a bit of a nothing. Yeah. We'll move on to, I think, a better conversation to have, because we're talking about a bit of greatness at the moment happening between the two. Daicos or Darcy? Pick 2 and pick 4 in the same draft.
And can you believe who was pick 2?
Yeah.
It was Darcy.
Considering the I guess, resume for Daicos, you'd think he was pick 2, but...
It's looking like a pretty good draft too.
Oh my God, is it? Yeah.
JHF, Darcy, Callahan, and Daicos.
Yeah, it's a shame the only team that lost their player for those top 4 picks.
Could have been 2.
Could have been. Could have been 2. But 1.7 is not enough, my
clearly.
friend. Apologies.
Maybe it's got to be 1.701.
But let's get back on to topic here. I guess we'll start off. Who do you pick? Daicos or Darcy?
Well, we've seen a lot more from Daicos as a first. I think Darcy only started really playing last year because injuries and also team selection.
I remember for sure Darcy's played 30 games so far. Daicos has played 71. So he's more than doubled Darcy's game time.
So we've seen a lot more from Daicos. He almost won the Brownlow last year. I think it's a better argument to have at the end of the year because then we've seen a genuine full year from Darcy. And I think it's going to be very interesting by the end of the year if Darcy continues at this rate, because he is such a unicorn. And I heard, might have been Kane Corns or David King saying his comparison was Victor Wembanyama. Right?
For God's sake, what is up with David King in comparing people to just the most ridiculous?
I don't know.
Jesse Hogan
To
as,
Wayne Carey.
As Wayne Carey. They don't even play the same sport, man.
But it's not bad. Realistically, it's both are absolute units in terms of their athleticism, in terms of their size and how they move.
Yeah.
This bloke can also kick on his left 40-meter darts. In terms of dart, like
You've seen
you
it a
don't
couple of
see
times, right? You've seen it a couple of times.
He was consistently doing it against Collingwood. Up the ground, he was taking marks like you wouldn't believe. He was so dominant in the air, and he was a great field kick as well.
And that's what I'd highlight the most for Sam Darcy is his contested mark, right? It is so recognisable when you see him play, right? He is ridiculously good with his contested mark now. He's using his height to such an advantage. 2 hands, clunks them so well. And when you're 2'10", 2'11" centimetres tall, I'm pretty sure is where he stands. I can't remember exactly.
He's 2'11".
He's
from
2'11".
memory. Yeah. Or 2'07" or something.
He is so tall.
Like yeah.
With that said, right, to be able to use that in a way that now he's taking strong contested marks that you'd see from a big-bodied, maybe 200 centimetre player.
Yep.
On a if you've got a really good player, like that is a scary, really scary player to come up against now. And if he continues to get better, this becomes more than just a one-off argument. This becomes a generation-defining argument.
Yeah.
Daicos, the wizard that he has become under Collingwood, right, and how quickly he's gone to the top, is something you never thought you'd see compared to in the same draft. In the same draft, we got this. Generational draft.
Yeah.
Generational, at least generational top 4 is what it's looking like. If Finn Callahan can play up to standard, right, big, massive draft.
Yeah.
If I were to pick, I'd say Daicos.
You can't go past him as of right now.
You cannot.
There's the resume he's shown. He got 38 Brownlow votes, the most ever.
You cannot go
the
past
most
Daicos,
ever.
especially through glimpses of Darcy.
Yep.
If we're talking right now, Daicos all the time, but the reason this argument is happening is because what does it look like in the future?
Yeah. And so, as I said, end of year, it'll be very different, I think, because Darcy could be insanely good.
And I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited for it. This is going to be a really, really fun one. Let's go. Bemmy's Tribunal Tasks is back.
Pretty much nothing to talk about this week. I mean, Rory Lobb got off for absolutely knocking Macy Cox out. It's the funniest thing I've seen.
Happen and I'm like, oh my God.
I was there. The crowd
It's
always
because he's
cheered.
an American.
The crowd always cheered when he got knocked out. I'm being dead serious.
Oh
It was
my
so
God. It's
funny.
because he's an American, isn't it?
Yeah. But aside from that, I mean, we can talk about what happened last week with the tribunal stuff, but
We talked a bit about how we think they'd get off.
Yeah.
And no one got off.
Yeah, Archer didn't get off, which I was pissed off about. I liked Scrimshaw not getting off, and I understood Lynch not getting off, and then McInerney, they didn't even challenge it. So
The Archer one is the
still
one that
so
most
surprised.
people got up in arms
there
about.
was outrage about it too.
Because, like, I want to know how. I haven't looked enough into it. I think I just saw that they upheld it and went, wow.
I was just as surprised that North didn't take it to the AFL.
Yeah, you could say that, but
So
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to describe that one.
neither.
Just a really strange week. Obviously, last
Yeah.
week was more exciting because more things were happening, more things we could look at. This week, not as much, and even the ones that could be looked at weren't even reported.
Yeah.
It was just like the umps went, like the umps saw the punch happen. They went, nice. That's
Hey,
sick, man. That
you
was
could get a
that
free
was
kick.
clean, bro. Well done.
You're a boxer now.
Yeah, but next up,
This is probably one of the most interesting things, to be honest.
you really like this one, or you think it's more interesting?
I think it just shows what I've been saying for the past 2 years.
I'm surprised
So-
it doesn't say AFL appoints Bem Gaddy.
Hey, I tagged the AFL in the comment section last week. They have not responded. How dare they? How dare they? They just hired someone. It should have been me.
It should have been
Me. It should have been me. But if you haven't seen, the AFL appoints Geoff Walsh as like a deputy
So he's
CEO
kind of
or interim. Yeah. To Laura Kane, mid-season. She's had 2 years. This is released by Caroline Wilson, which is always nice to see, given she is useless. No, I'm joking. She breaks some interesting stories, Caroline Wilson, and this is probably one of the most interesting stories I've seen in a long time. I have said countless times, both on my YouTube channel and on this one, within a month, that I don't see what Laura Kane and Andrew Dillon have fully done so far. They've had 2 years to make an impact. I haven't noticed anything. They have had multiple instances where the MRO and tribunal, they could have changed. They have delayed changing the draft concession rules in terms of the father-son picks and the academy bids. They have not done it yet. Apparently it's coming in this season. They have not changed to a mid-season draft pool, whether you agree with it or don't. They haven't done it. They have not changed the draft rulings at all. There have been very few changes. They haven't made any rule changes either, to be honest.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head what rule changes they've made.
Literally. So in your first 3 years is when you should be making the most changes you will be making, because that is when you can make your identity and then you can see if it works. I like what they've done with the Tassie draft, but how much is them compared to the other people in the AFL? Also, they have not been very well trained in media, especially Laura Kane. I don't think she has come out and said anything outrageous, but also she hasn't been very clear in what she's said. And now hiring Geoff Walsh, it basically just undermines anything she will say or anything she will do. If you just appoint him as part of the job, sure. But why specify that it's part of Laura Kane as he's working basically with Laura Kane? It just shows that maybe she wasn't fully qualified for the job.
Yeah, no, you. That's a good point. I think you got to look at the messaging that it gives. It's definitely well. How much? I don't imagine many people even realize that Geoff Walsh had been hired.
And it wasn't like he was hired
on
now.
agenda setters.
It's not that he was hired now. He has been working at league headquarters since late 2023.
Yeah, he was part-time, and now it feels like it's just the main change obviously is in title, but it's also, after reading a bit of it, it's from a part-time job to a full-time job in footy.
Makes it worse.
So he's going to have more work and more impact is what it sounds like. So yeah, it looks like a kind of a bad look on Laura in the sense that she needs someone to kind of help her
she's
stabilize the decisions.
She had 1 year in the role, and then they had to hire someone part-time. And then a year later, they've seen that they have to hire someone full-time. It just shows that they've probably got a lack of confidence. That's all. That's what I've taken out of this. That's what I've taken out of this.
That's fair. But those are probably some of the more interesting off-field situations going on. Now we've got round 3. We're here on a really, really good round 2 review, but now we have to look forward, right? The jumpers and the scarves were great, but now we've got to come back to reality.
Hey, we're not coming back to reality this time. We've got Richmond, baby.
I don't know. That could be fun. Hey, what did you do?
I don't know.
Give me my rounders back.
There we are.
I guess we talked about 3 MCG games to start next week. This week we've got 1, and it's D's versus Suns.
So we've got a game. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games in Melbourne, and then we've got Tassie. We've got up at the Gold Coast. We've got Adelaide, and then we've got West Coast. Great fixturing, AFL.
It's a global game, my boys. It's a global game.
So dumb.
I'm more confused at the Melbourne ones.
Yeah.
D's versus Suns being the only MCG game.
Yeah,
You've got
a bit confusing.
Carlton Dogs. That should be played in MCG. Saints versus Tigers, you could even argue, should be played in MCG.
No, because it's next time we play them is at the MCG.
Fair enough. Saints versus Tigers, though, that's one that I'm sure you're very excited for. We'll start from the top, though. Bombers versus Port. We mentioned that Port Adelaide are back to reality. And that reality is playing top 8 football.
Yep.
Since we don't think Bombers are a top 8 side, I believe Port should win this one especially considering the injuries going
Yeah.
the Bombers' way.
Yeah.
Port have lost Jack Lukosius for a bit with a fractured kneecap. But I think with the way they played, that's the Port Adelaide standard we expected. I see them winning this one by about 30 points.
Yeah, I probably agree. I just think that a lot of teams after they get battered by a team do respond.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot talked about Essendon. And so I think we do see a response. I just think that it could be a response from a 60-point drubbing to a 30-point drubbing.
Yeah, it's at Marvel.
Yeah.
So they're playing them on a home deck. So it will give them a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
And I have seen the Bombers play well at Marvel. I think last year they beat GWS at Marvel. So that was a good one. I went to that game specifically for a university assignment, I remember.
Yeah.
And they came out strong. GWS struggled. So maybe we see a bit of that.
Yep.
But I think, like we said, if we're going with the idea that Port are back to reality, they should take this one.
Yes.
Let's go Carlton versus Dogs.
Yep.
This one's going to be really, really interesting because Dogs have been playing out of their skin, but on paper, Carlton look better.
Yep.
What do you think?
The way teams have been performing, you can't go past the Bulldogs. But again, we've seen 2 insanely good weeks from them. I think when you're talking about matchups for Sam Darcy, Jacob Wiedering is probably top 3.
Yeah.
I think he shows that he likes to play on the key forwards. And outside of that, probably Nick Haynes or McGovern goes to, or even probably Kemp this week goes to Norton.
I was going to say,
And
what
he
are the
showed-
matchups looking outside of Darcy, though?
Yeah.
Because as much as we've given Norton the crap, when he has a matchup that's favourable, he can usually get himself impacting.
Yeah.
And then you look around the ball in that forward line. Do they chuck Riley West down there? I saw him get some midfield minutes
Kind
against
of.
Carlton.
I mean, they've got McNeil,
Sorry,
they've
Collingwood?
got West, they've got Vandermeer, who's been awesome this year.
Vandermeer is one that I think could really have a fun time.
Sard probably goes to Vandermeer, and I think it's a pretty even matchup. I don't think there's too many options for Carlton small forward wise. I don't think there's too many options for the Bulldogs small forward wise either. The midfield's going to be interesting. Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Chera versus Libba, Richards. I don't think Treloar or Bont will be back this week.
No, they won't be back, but
And
Joel Frazier.
Joel Frazier's been in there a little bit. And who else? Riley Sanders.
Riley
That'll be a
Sanders.
very interesting battle. Carlton probably get the edge there. Koning over English as well probably gets the edge there.
Yeah.
And then in the forward line, I'm assuming Mackay and Kerno will be there. And I know Rory Lobb's been great to the start.
Yep.
I just don't see them being able to stop Kerno.
Do you think, potentially, they push Darcy down back?
No. If they're pushing someone down back, it is going to be Norton.
Okay.
We saw how good Darcy was.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
I think they'd rather find someone like a Jed Buslinger and instead of O'Donnell. Because whilst O'Donnell's probably a better matchup than Buslinger on Kerno, Buslinger probably provides a bit more air support alongside Lobb. That's all.
Yeah,
But
that's fair. Next on.
I'm probably tipping Carlton by, let's go 15.
I've said plenty of times I do not trust Carlton. But the matchups are just too favourable. I'm going to go Carlton by a goal.
Yep, fair.
I cannot.
Tough luck
I
for the
think
doggies.
the matchups. I said Essendon by 1 to hold strong on my tip, but I've got to and I ignored the matchup problems with Langford and Ridley being out.
Yeah.
I ignored them. I'm not going to ignore them this week. I think the matchups are just too heavy favourable in Carlton's direction.
What do you mean you ignored the matchups? Oh, in
Last
terms of-
week with
Yeah,
Essendon.
okay.
I'm not doing it this time. D's versus Suns.
I think this is pretty comfortably Gold Coast.
With the look
assuming-
they got. The Suns aren't too bad at. Actually, now that I say it, they did have a bad year last year away from home. But
They did.
They've showed signs at MCG, I'm pretty sure.
they have. And also, I don't believe Stephen May's going to be back. I don't believe so.
That's gonna be
I think
really
he's
tough.
seeking consultants about his larynx issue. And Ben King will kick a bag again because what did Nick Larkey do to Harrison Petty?
He kicked 5 or... Oh, no. He didn't kick too many. It was more of an all-round from North Melbourne. But I think
Okay,
Larky
but
had 3 or 4.
Okay, that's still a very good performance.
Add Jack Darling's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Paul Curtis with 3.
Yeah, so I see Ben King absolutely dominating.
Yeah.
That's-
I'm going to go Suns as well.
Yeah.
I just think I'm going to go back to matchups wise. Last week, North's midfield ran over the top of them. Suns have got an equally as good midfield, so they could
Arguably
easily
better.
run. Yeah, I'd say definitely better.
I think Flanders could be back. I think Andrew could be back as well.
Which
so.
is worrying for D's
Yeah,
fans.
hugely
If they're
worrying.
going to start 0-3 in this type of way after such an exciting GWS game,
Yep.
it's panic. It's panic time for the Demons fans.
Yep.
And like we said, boom or bust. Looking more like bust.
Mm-hmm.
Suns, though, I think agreed. Take it by, let's go 40 points.
Yeah, 35-ish.
Yeah.
Saints, Tigers. I mean, Lynch is back, so that's certainly a benefit for Tigers. Provides a lot more contest around their forward line. But again, we saw what they're like. We saw how difficult it is for a young team to be able to perform so consistently. Probably see something similar from St Kilda. I don't think it's going to be like a 60-point blowout. I think it's a 2-goal game for a lot of it, and then we sort of get out to a 30-point lead towards the end.
I think it's quite the opposite, and that's based off of trends. Last week, we saw St Kilda get off to a fantastic start against Geelong. Richmond, every single game so far, has had an awful start. So I think the Saints will really open this out early.
Okay.
I think 40 or 50, and then Richmond could claw it back a little. But I'm seeing this being a Saints 40-point.
Yeah.
Saints 40-point win.
Pretty
just in the
similar.
opposite way you've described it.
Yeah.
Because I think Richmond have been really struggling to get out of the blocks hot. And maybe that's their emphasis this week. So maybe I'm wrong in that sense. But based off of trends, Saints will get the jump on them, but Richmond will keep fighting.
Yeah.
That's just the way
Yeah.
they're bred, clearly.
Yeah.
The way that they go about things.
Yeah.
Hawks versus Giants at UTAS.
Probably the best game of the round,
Yeah?
I would say, and it's in Tasmania.
God, oh my God, they've just wasted it again.
commentators are going to speak Tasmanian. Oh, look at you.
Shut up, just because I like it, and leave me alone.
Shut up.
What
are your
Hawks versus
thoughts?
Giants.
What are your thoughts? I've gone first for basically every game.
No, that's fair. So I think this is going to be... The Hawks have had a lot of tests. They've had a lot of tests to
Yep.
start the season, and I think they've passed all of them to reasonable standards. I think their win against Sydney was a fantastic pass.
Yeah.
Their win against Carlton was satisfactory. And their win against... Who was their other one? Essendon. That one was also probably satisfactory, maybe distinction, because they looked like they held
Yeah.
on to it. They looked dominant most of the game, but Essendon looked like they could hold themselves in it and could maybe pip it. But Hawthorn have passed everyone so far. GWS is going to be a fantastic test for them.
Yep. Is Hogan back? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, that's true. I think Hawthorn take this by 15.
Okay. Any reasons?
I think they play better at Tassie. I don't even know if GWS have played at Tassie.
They did
or how-
last year. And
many times they played
Hawthorn
at them.
beat them by a goal in a really controversial game last year.
Okay.
Luke Bruce kicked a goal with like
So I think
under a
it'll be
minute left.
close. I think it'll be
Yeah.
close.
I hope it's close because I don't know how many close games we could see this week.
Yeah. Carlton Dogs, I'm hoping.
My only
Tigers on a good day.
Yeah, my
Saints
only-
on their bad day. Tigers on their good day could be a close one.
My only concern is we've seen Hawthorn play 3 in a row, but Giants have had a break.
Yep.
Are they so well rested that they either come out really slowly, or do they come out and say, "No, we are fully rested. We can just go bang," and potentially we've seen Hawthorn start slowly.
Yep.
So could they come out and just knock Hawks on their arse in the first quarter and a bit?
We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
We're going to move to... go for it.
I'm leaning Giants, but I'm still going to go Hawthorn because they've probably got the edge in Tassie. And
Yeah.
I'll probably say under 10 points.
Yeah, good tip. I like that one. Let's go to the replacement game as to why there's a slash opening round at the top. Lions versus Cats at the Gabba. Not as much of a advantage for the Lions as we thought they may have, as we saw West Coast nearly get them. What do you think happens here? Actually, no, I'll start because I've let you start too many times and you don't want to have to make all the decisions. Lions versus Cats, I think with the way the Cats got beat last week, I think Cats are too strong of a side to let that happen again. Right, where they get just whammed at the start. Matchups, I think, favour the Lions much better. Obviously, Bailey Smith, question mark. Do we know if he's coming back?
I would assume he is because it was like 75% chance to play. They took it right till the end.
Yeah, so they
Also, Tom
could.
Stewart potentially is missing. We'll have
Yes,
to see. He's
Tom
a
Stewart.
test.
I forgot to mention that in the preview. Or
Yeah.
sorry, in the review.
Yeah.
Tom Stewart going down in that St Kilda game.
And then also Charlie Cameron potentially is missing again this week. which is another thing.
Forward line not as dangerous for the Lions.
No.
Not as dangerous on the Lions side. How do the the Cats match up? A quick little shout out, Jack Henry. Fantastic.
Huge. Him and Connor Sullivan looked very good.
Fantastic against St Kilda. But I think this is going to be a close one with the Lions taking it.
Yeah, I probably agree. I think this is
But
a game.
I think this is going to run it exactly the same way as it did with West Coast. Geelong get out to a start, Lions pip it back.
I probably agree. I think Geelong, they showed that the small forwards can get on top of them. They don't really have any matchups. Whether Tom Stewart plays again is a huge thing. Jeremy Cameron was dealing with a calf niggle, I believe, as well. He was getting rubbed down a few times during the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if Cameron's back, I say Lions 100% winning, because I think that small forward fleet, what we showed against Geelong, is probably what they're going to be able to do. But I just think that it's going to be a lot closer than what I think, and I'd probably say Lions by 3
This is
points.
an exciting one. There's a reason. I think there's a reason it's an opening round matchup. Crows versus Roos. Adelaide Oval.
Mm-hmm.
I, maybe controversially, I'm going to say Crows by 50 plus.
I mean, it'd be a huge, sit down for North to get battered by 50. But,
North's backline has always been the worry for me,
yeah.
and I still don't trust them just yet. And we talked about Crows having the best forward line.
Is Logue back?
Don't know.
Because Combin on
He could help.
Thilthorpe, Logue on Walker, and Core on Fogarty. It's pretty good.
It's all right,
It's pretty good.
but then Rankin,
Yeah.
Rochelle,
I'm not. I know.
I think it's a 50 plus. I genuinely do.
I wouldn't go as far as that, but I do think Crows win. I think their backline will also struggle against you guys, but it will be one in the midfield. Cherry against O'Brien is going to be a huge matchup.
I think
You're gonna
Sherry will take that comfortably, honestly.
Yeah, as in that's my point. I think it'll be breaking how much he wins it by. I think that you've got LDU, Sheasel, Wardlaw won't be back, I'm
He's not
assuming.
there, no.
Simpkin, you've got heaps of talent in there. Powell against Dawson, Saligo, Crouch, Rankin, right? Laird's playing a bit more halfback this year.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because if you guys get on top and Adelaide aren't able to necessarily get the ball movement that they had, because it's been very easy for them, right? You guys will challenge them a bit more than what I think Essendon and St Kilda will. So I think it's a bit closer than what Adelaide have been dealt with, but I still think they get on top.
Yeah.
About 20 points.
Look, I'm so happy we won last week. But my faith is just, I need some restoration in faith. If we beat them, I'll be so much more confident. So much more confident. I've seen people legitimately tip us. I'm actually shocked by it. Like everything.
That's more people not believing in Adelaide, I reckon.
Yeah, potentially. But how do you believe in North?
Yeah.
If you don't believe in Adelaide.
That's a good point.
Yeah. We'll go to the next one. Eagles versus Dockers. This is the last one. We're getting towards the end here. We're a bit over time. But Eagles versus Dockers. We'll try and make it quick. I think Dockers take this pretty comfortably.
No.
You think Eagles take it?
Yes.
That'd be shocking.
I know.
That'd be crazy. I mean, they showed signs.
I mean, okay.
Do you think Kelly really
Great
outplays Sarong and Brayshaw?
Sarong got tagged out of the game completely against Sydney, right?
Do you think the Eagles have someone to do that, though?
Not really, but at the same time, you've got Jimby, who's shown some signs, who big-bodied midfielder. Tim Kelly was back to his best.
Mm-hmm.
If Harley Reid pulls his head in, then I think that's a big thing for them.
That's a big midfield matchup.
Yeah, Jack Graham probably goes to Sarong, I dare say, and then you got Kelly on Brayshaw. It was interesting to see how they used Brayshaw, because it was more so the out-of-stoppage forward who then rolled up, because they basically switched Bolton. So Bolton would start in the middle, and then Brayshaw would roll up and switch with him. And they were able to get a lot of handballs out the front of stoppages. I think with the Eagles at home, they'll have the home crowd. I think they get this done. And I think Fremantle will really struggle in the first half and then come back later in the year.
To be fair, if there's any game for the Eagles to do it, it's the Derby. The Western Derby, absolutely, I could see it happening. I just don't think the Dockers are going to let that happen, in the sense that they have a really, really good all-around team. I think they get the edge in the middle because, like you said, Sarong got tagged and just shut out. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, if we think he's going to be a potential Brownlow winner, he's going to have to learn to play with those tags.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
I think there's a chance he can do so, especially against West Coast.
Yeah.
I think Sydney, being a team that made the grand final last year, had the players to do so, to take him out. Eagles, not so much, right? They don't have spare players to just chuck onto a big midfielder to shut him out, because if they take that player out, there's a good chance they lose something really important in that spot they usually play.
We've also seen, though, that Fremantle struggled to get the ball forward, and when they did get the ball forward, they struggled to find options. McGovern will feast on that. That's what we have seen.
Yeah.
And so
Tracy
they did beat them in the Derby last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of where I'm basing it on a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Tracy and Amos are just going to have to show up.
Yeah. Amos has been very poor to start the year.
Yeah.
Very poor.
Tracy, she showed up in last week's game. Yeah, he just needs to do it again this week,
Correct.
and maybe that's harder said than done. And obviously, Pies and Swans get the bye. Thank God I don't want to hear a Pies fan. I can't be bothered with them.
Yes, producer Ethan, we know you exist, but you can shut up for a while now.
But that's about it. That's what we've got.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed this week purely because we kind of
good.
got to bask in the greatness of our teams this week. It's the rare time I think we'll be able to both do it. So happy days. Enjoy your $5. I'm going to get on my bike and start heading home now. But of course, thank you all so much for tuning in once again to Zero Access Footy. It's been a pleasure to have you guys with us. Be sure again to follow us, Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate us 5 stars on Spotify if you are listening to us through the audio medium. So thank you all so much again for tuning in to us. We appreciate your time. Be sure to tune in next week, as I'm sure there'll be plenty more that pops up on the agenda for us to go at.
Definitely.
And I thank you once again, Ethan, for joining me for a fantastic... Not Ethan. You, Bem.
You're doing a JF scene.
Shut up.
You're doing a JF scene.
No, I'm doing it. Yeah. No, I'm just putting it back on you. I thank you very much. There was a bunch of clapping over from producer side. He really enjoyed that one.
I'm
but
sure
I
he
thank
did.
you more, Bemmy Gadathan, for joining me.
I'm not a marathon.
Not what I was saying, mate. But thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me. I'm going to stop wasting everyone's time. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and we will see you again in next week's
Just
podcast.
tanked our viewership.
No,
Thank
I
you very
didn't.
much.
Shut up. Shut up. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh, thank you, guys. I'll see you all next week.